Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. Today I'm hanging out with,
Nerdarchy's Ted.
and today we're going to be talking about 6th edition Dungeons & Dragons. There's going to be one.
Jump down the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
So we've talked to a lot of different people in the industry, and we have some connections here and there. Can't actually say where we've heard this, but we already know that 6th edition, there's been rumblings about one.
There's been rumblings, there's been talk behind the scenes, behind closed doors, whatever have you. It's going to happen. It's going to happen at some point in time. So we're going to, talk about it, tease about it, say what we know, what we're allowed to talk about, and maybe speculate on what else there might be.
Absolutely. I mean, we did like a LARC video way back when with Scott Garibay talking about 6th edition D&D, but that's before we actually knew anything. But, now we do know some things, so we want to let those out. But first, let's take a look at kind of like the history of Dungeons & Dragons and how long each of the editions has lasted.
Now, the original D&D started all the way back in 1974. So we're going back quite a ways.
Oh, D&D. And that had kind of a short lifespan. It only lasted 3 years.
AD&D has actually been the longest at 12 years.
And I think we had like a break off in there somewhere. Oh, nope, that was 2nd edition I'm thinking of, which lasted 6 years. But there was a break off in there where they kind of started introducing some ideas that I think would later become 3rd edition with their skills and powers, where they were just trying to add more options to the game.
Third edition, breaks down as well between 3rd and 3.5. And I would have thought, with all the years that I've been playing, that 3rd had the longest running, but it turns out, 3 was only 3 years and 3.5 was 5 years. So if you combine them together for like the basic rule set, that's still only 8 years. Doesn't compare to AD&D.
Yeah, I was shocked as well because it just felt like we spent so much time playing that game. But, apparently only 8 years because when 4th edition came out, we moved right into the next edition.
Absolutely. And, 4th edition only lasted 6 years.
But I guess we have something in between there. Like Pathfinder is a D&D system that came out with the OGL that 3rd edition introduced, and that is in its 9th year running. So it's going strong. It's on track to kind of compete with AD&D. So I guess 4E, we reiterate, if we haven't mentioned it already, 6 years. And then that brings us to 5E.
Which is in its, fourth year and going strong.
So now, before you get all alarmy and get angry and start, forming mobs in the streets, we do know the 6th edition is not coming anytime soon. So we're speculating that 5E's got at least another 5 to 10 years easy.
And we have no idea. We just know that it's, back burner, long-term plan, but it will eventually happen.
Yeah, so I don't know what the idea is with that too. If it's just planned obsolescence, we can't say for sure if they're eventually we're going to have to churn a new system to generate new revenue, or if it's even early on in 5th edition, they're seeing things going, we could have just did that better. Here are the tweaks we would have made, but we're not going to go and we're not going to do it all at once. We'll just wait. Ride this out, tweak things as we go, but eventually, there's some things we really want to fix.
And that is what opens it up for speculation. If we look at this history that we've spread out, there's always been changes, and there's always been things that they've carried forward. Now that thing going forward might not always be the same thing, but there's always something that moves throughout the editions, and that love of let's play D&D is there in some iteration.
So one of the things we do know is it's going to be backwards compatible. At least that's what we've heard. Obviously, that could change, but for now, it looks like they don't want to have the problem they did with 4E and split their fan base, split the hobby again. So they want to make something that is going to integrate with what already exists. So maybe it's going to end up being more like a 3.0 to 3.5 kind of shift. Not sure.
That's kind of interesting that you bring up, not wanting to split the hobby. I find it amusing that you can literally take all of these different iterations of this great game, and there are players, there are groups who are dedicated to that style or that edition. Go through Facebook. You can search any of those terms, and there are groups that are playing that style to this day, or playing that rule set to this day, because that's what they know, that's what they love. And, whether it be that grumbly old man, with his cane, I'm not changing, I'm not buying new books, or, whatever have you, people are playing the edition that they know and love.
Some people just enjoy that play style, right? The OSR is a whole movement that kind of came up around the idea of not even so much AD&D, but more so like the basic D&D, where you can play a dwarf or an elf, and there's plenty of like retro clones for D&D. So it's fair enough to say that style plays out there and it's going strong. So, but going back to what we might expect, one of the things that really struck us about 5e is the fact that it's so modular. And I think if they go into 6th edition, they're going to take advantage of that and be like, here's a new rule set with these big blocks that you can put into your game or take out.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some of that kind of stuff in the new release products, whether it be, Xanathar's Guide, whether it's the Unearthed Arcana. You have these things of here's a way to do something. And you can take that even further by saying, okay, well, what if I wanted to take these blocks and incorporate, this particular rule set, and now you've got Spelljammer, or I want to, insert this block, and now you've got Planescape. These are type of things that it requires a lot of rule sets, a lot of changes from what the typical norm is to be able to have that kind of game. And they don't want to do campaign books or campaign settings. So maybe going with 6th edition, that's the kind of blocks that they can put in there.
Well, I think it might even be more than that. Not so much like campaign settings, but genres, right? Why not have these big blocks that you move in and out and go, oh, now it's modern, now it's sci-fi or post-apocalyptic, whatever kind of game you're trying to play. There, you can have these blocks to move them in and out, and it like completely changes the game. But it's at its core, it'll still like use the same mechanics. Like I think of AD&D 2nd edition with skills and powers. I think they're going to try and do something like that with much better execution.
I hope they don't incorporate that skills and powers of let's split stats again, because I thought that was game breaking. It's like, oh, I don't care about ranged attacks. I'm a melee fighter, so all of my dexterity is going to be geared towards armor class.
Well, I feel like game design has evolved since then by a lot, so I don't think you have to worry about that too much.
But I mean, the ability to, whether it's min-maxing or whether it's, customizing your character, having the ability to tweak and twist things, I think would be pretty fantastic.
Also, like I think they're going to look at a lot of the other games that are out there, indie games and other publishers, and really try and see what they can cherry pick to make D&D more of a narrative driven, more story driven. I mean, they've already done it with 5e.
Uh-huh.
We've with 4e and 3.5, it was a lot more mechanics and crunch heavy, and we've moved away from that. It seems to be focusing more on the narrative. So it's even been said to me, like bringing in like Kate Welch, who even during the C-Team games, she's even encouraging other players to incorporate more agency into the game and like, oh, you're doing that, well, describe it and things like that. So, maybe that mindset will go forward into the next edition of the game.
Well, I would love to see more player agency discussed in a D&D book, because while it exists out there in the hobby and it exists in other role-playing systems, D&D is, as a rule set, has never truly embraced that. They say the DM's got all the power and you can make all the changes you want, but to my knowledge, and I could be wrong, I'm not the supreme knowledge base, but I haven't seen anything that says, okay, well, here's how in D&D you can give the player the ability to do X.
So I also would look in the direction of technology and how it's affecting the game. A lot of games are being streamed now. D&D themselves have a Twitch channel. They stream every day, 5 days a week, if not more. And it's becoming a huge part of the game. People are playing on virtual tabletops. D&D Beyond is a digital tool set who is also looking to incorporate streaming and Twitch into that tool set. So I think they're going to look at that as well. The first place that I actually saw a core rule book for an RPG mentioned online gaming with Cipher System. It was just like one line in the whole thing, but I thought it was really cool because it's a paradigm shift, and it's talking about how the hobby's changing, how people are playing the game. We're not playing in person to person all the time now. Sometimes we're playing from different parts of the world and enjoying the hobby together from different time zones even. So, I would like to see what kind of stuff they do to incorporate technology and how the game is being played.
I absolutely agree with you. Tech at the table is a hot button topic in many different ways. And whether you're running at your own home table and people have laptops or tablets and they're working with all these things, as well as, games are being streamed and all of it is happening, as you said, in different time zones with different interfaces. You can do an awful lot with it. So to not incorporate that in your core book, I think is going to be a problem.
But there's a lot of books coming out nowadays, so we'll see how much it gets addressed. Streaming is here to stay. D&D and other RPGs is as entertainment is here to stay. I would have never thought when we first got into this hobby that people would be watching or sitting around watching other people play the game instead of just playing it themselves. But it's huge. Look at the success of Critical Role. Look how many people they get, tens of thousands of people watching them live roll funny shaped dice and play D&D. That's crazy.
You mean make believe with a rule set?
Yeah, pretty much.
So so we talked about some speculations, but what ultimately do we feel like, if we had the power, what would we want to see happen with 6th edition?
So I know you have a couple things on your bucket list. I actually don't even want to speculate that much because I feel like I've been game mastering a long time and playing this game a long time. And we've even, at this point, we've even made a couple products ourselves.
That's true.
I feel like if I knew what it was, I would just make it. And I would just put it right in my game. So, I'm actually stealing this a little bit from Adam Caval and the Game Master Roundtable. But yeah, I just want to see something new, something that surprises me, something that I wasn't expecting.
Well, I mean, while we are content creators and we have the ability to make things to insert into a rule set, I'm not confident that I would be able to put forth a set of rules that wasn't just, make this slight modification. Like, yeah, I would make, tweaks with 5e about, how this spell operates or, how this race power works. And we have made those changes for our games. But, I had player agency. And as I said earlier in the video, that I want to see that in the books. I want to see D&D fully embrace that style, maybe within the confines and rules of the inspiration mechanic or, something along those lines to define it for players who don't branch out into other systems, other rule sets that there is an alien concept to them. They don't know what it is because they only play D&D. And, we played heavily with 3.5. We played heavily with 5th. And the encounter, the challenge rating system, however you want to look at it, it never flows properly. I can't just say, it works whether I'm using a whole horde of level 1s or whether I'm using these, a high level monster. It never flows properly. It doesn't work to be an adequate challenge for the party. So I would like a lot of intensive work put into that so that I know if I put this encounter out there based on the math that it provides, it's going to give me exactly what I want.
It's true. We kind of just eyeball it now more than you use their numbers. So there is one area where I'm really curious to see how this affects things going forward. I believe Chief and Nerdarchy Doug had pointed out that Wizards of the Coast has acquired most of, if not all of the old TSR properties. Mm-hmm. So it's like, will that factor into the future of the game, and will something be done with that stuff? So I'm excited to see. I can't wait. I don't want it to happen too soon. I could play in 5e for at least another 10 years. So there's no rush, and who knows? They may even change their mind by the time that comes around. We'll have to wait and see. But the question is, what do you guys think? Are you speculating? Will this be the thing to drive you away from D&D, or do you embrace every edition the way we have? We got a place where you can discuss it. That's down in the comments below. While you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can check out the shop over on nerdarchy.com.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.